Hello. How's everyone doing?
Good morning.
How are you? Let me turn my sound up a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, good. I sent an email to Stephen. I don't know, or Stefan. I don't know where he is right now, but he should be joining us soon. Good. So, how was everyone's week?
Okay, for the most
All right,
part.
that's good. So let's see. I just want to wait for Stefan a little bit, a couple more minutes before I start. Wiping my nose. Oh, okay. Are you outside or?
No, it's just this particular location is sort of on a decline hill, and the way the auto sounds are, it can like acoustically project into this area, so it's kind of weird setup in that sense.
Yeah. Okay.
It isn't always a problem, but sometimes I can't really tell how much background noise gets put through.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. You can just type in the chat and we can follow along. Okay. So why don't we? Let's see. Why is this here? Okay. Right. So why don't we start? First of all, is there anything that either of you want to discuss before we start with the board?
No, I think my thing is on the board.
Okay. So yeah. So thank you for the papers, by the way. I think everyone sent me a paper selection for the to schedule. So yeah, those look pretty good. And like I said, it's like you go through the papers. You go through a paper, you review it, you would create a 10 to 15 minute presentation, which would basically be structured where you have like the main idea of the paper. Then you have some other information like some graphs, explaining what they did in the study, what the graphs mean, because graphs are usually the best way to sort of encapsulate the study to show what they did. It could be a schematic, it could be a data graph, but just to show kind of what they did in the study and what the outcome was. And then just kind of talk about how it might be relevant to, this type of work that we're doing here. So, like, some of them are, I noticed, like, I think two of them are actually more neuroscience oriented. So what is the bridge between that and what we're doing here? And try to be critical about it. Like, try to think a little bit about, like, what the connections are. And we'll talk about it in the group. So we'll spend, like, 15 to 20 minutes. I think probably, in the order of 8 to 10 slides, or maybe that's a lot. Just, don't make it too wordy. Just put the main idea out there. Have a couple slides of graphs, and then maybe a slide or two of like follow-up on it, and then we can talk about it. And I think that should be beneficial to everyone in the group. So we'll start that in 2 weeks, not next week, but in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so next week, though, is your presentations. That's, again, 10 to 15 minutes, or actually 15 to 20 minutes of presentation based on your proposal. And then the last few slides should be for, kind of the broader implications of the proposal. There's Stefan, sorry. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
How are you? So I was telling Ziyi and Jesse about the papers. So thank you for sending the paper selection. And I'm glad to see that you were able to get in touch with the person who sort of founded SimBrain.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that's good. Did you just followed up with that email? He was pretty interested in what you were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. So I followed up the email and I told him that we can keep in touch on about the progress of our project. So if he does anything in this direction that we are doing, I guess he would also give me a note about it. And I basically told him that it would be still cool to have his manuscript at some point in the future. I've told him that in July I'll start to implement the genetic algorithms, which will basically have a lot to do with behaviors and stuff. So by this time point, it would be cool if he could send something like that he has. That's what I've written to him, and now I'm waiting for his response. He hasn't yet responded anything, but I guess he will do it soon.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's good to make a connection like that. So
yeah, sure. I find it also.
Yeah. So as I was telling Z and Jesse about doing these presentations, so we're going to start in 2 weeks doing that, and then the presentations will be like, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes on it, and it might be, it'll be like we'll take the main idea of the paper, put it in a set of PowerPoint slides, and then get a couple of graphs or schematics from the paper and put it in the different, put it as a couple of slides and go through them, and then maybe a slide or two of like critical analysis. How does this relate to what we're doing? How is it like, what are the caveats? That sort of thing. So we'll talk about it a little bit in the session, so that'll be good. So let me do this. Let me go through, let's try to schedule these papers. Let me bring up my calendar. So we're at May 25th, and then next week, June 1st, is the presentations for the proposals. Then June 8th, 15th, and the 22nd are the open weeks. And we can go further down, but I just figured that we wanted to present them in succession. So does anyone have any conflicts with those 3 dates? Do they have things where they don't think they can get the paper done by, say, the 8th?
So you mean that who should do the paper?
Oh, well, I guess I don't think anyone has a conflict then. Let's see. I don't know how to draw this. We don't have digital lots that I can send out. So I don't know who wants to volunteer for the 8th. Who wants to go first? It won't be penalized. There's no negative assessment here.
I think I could do the 8th then.
Okay.
Yeah, if nobody else wants.
Okay. All right, Jesse and Z, who wants to do the 15th?
I'll go.
All right.
Did that go through? Yeah. You heard me, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was
They do.
Okay, 15th. So, okay. Well, I guess, okay, well, if, all right, Jesse wants to do the 15th, and Z wants to do the 22nd. How does that sound? Okay. Okay, good. That's good. And then, like, so Stefan will go first on the 8th, and he'll just present a paper, and, you all have your papers picked out. So, I don't know if I actually have them in one place on Slack.
I
I'll
was
put them
gonna
up.
ask
What was
about
that?
that because I didn't know if there was like a place for the papers that were
Oh,
going to be.
yeah, I'll probably create a place, like probably in the main channel. I'll just put the papers in, like, in succession, and then you can go to the main channel and find them, and then we'll read them, sometime before it's presented. Just look through them. Don't worry too much about like the details. Although, if you want to come and you kind of know some special detail about it, you're not presenting, you know, that's okay too. But just go over it, and then the person presenting will familiarize us with it, and then we will all be better. I think I'll be richer for it. So that's good. Thank you for picking out papers and picking dates. So then next week, the 1st, we will have our uh, presentations on the proposals. So, Stefan, are you okay with that? Are you coming along on that?
Yeah, sure. Why shouldn't I?
Well, I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
Okay, so now we got that out of the way. Let's go to the board. And so our project board once again is here. Let me go into the chat. Okay, so follow this link, and it should be in. If you go to that link, you'll go to the main repo, and then you go to the projects tab, and you click on the projects tab, and it should give you the group meetings review. Click on that link, and then we're at our board again. And so we did this a little bit last week. So we have our to do, in progress, and done columns. And so we've exchanged proposals. That's been done. Then we have in progress, work on presentations. So we're still working on that, but that will be put and done next week. Present papers, that's in progress. Get in touch with SimBrain developers. So that was something that Stefan did. And it was, he talked to the person, I guess, who, is he the head person on SimBrain, or?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I guess he has been doing it for the last 20 years. He has publications. He has quite a bit of publications in various journals about the program. Yeah,
Okay.
so he's the main guy there.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and then the paper is like from their group of people, as I understand it.
You mean about like the SimBrain's papers?
Okay, yeah. So, well, we'll learn more about that when Stefan presents. So that's good. That's in progress. Actually, maybe I'll put that in done, but we'll see what they think about your genetic algorithm implementation and everything. So then to do, we have set up presentation schedule. So we just did that. And I'll put a formal list up on the Slack channel, just so we remember. Then we have documentation with Jupyter Notebooks. So does everyone feel comfortable with that at this point?
With using Jupyter Notebooks, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, do you have something that's set up so that you can like use it over the course of the summer?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you have it like you know how to edit the notebooks and post them to GitHub, and I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, isn't that difficult? It's just a technical detail. I found that sharing notebooks is a good way to share work and just to kind of review it in a easy to present way. Like we'll come into a meeting and someone will have a problem, or maybe we'll want to demo something, and that's another thing we can do at the meetings is like demo something, show what we've done, to people and say, this is a thing that I worked on this week. Look at the code, and you would maybe write a block of code and annotate it a little bit, and you can put in graphs, interactive graphs. You can do a bunch of other stuff. I mean, people have really kind of used them for a lot of things. So it's but really, I think it's a good place to present everything to people in a project like this. So we're okay. We'll put that in progress, and then I would like it like next. So next week starts the GSOC coding period. So we're gonna start kind of like going through like some sort of programming threshold. I know for Stefan, there's a technical requirement that he do like a good make some good progress on the project each week, and then he's going to be evaluated like twice during the course of the summer. But for Ziyi and Jesse, of course, they're not in the program technically, so I would like you to do make some progress, but it's not like you don't have a threshold every week. But I would like you to like if you get some work done to do a pull request on GitHub, and so we can see where everything is. I know people have forked their repos over to or at least I've forked them over. So I mean that I don't know how that's going to be synchronized, but we'll work on that. Anyways, I think though doing this in like a group meeting to show kind of what was done this week is a good way to kind of get some feedback on things. So that's good. And then we talked about sharing resources. That's another to-do. So we talked about that, and then Stefan raised the issue that, depending on how things are implemented, is that good to have a shared resource, or is it better just to do things that fit into what you're doing currently? So we talked about genetic algorithms, but that might be a bit tricky. Do you have any further thoughts on that? I think Jesse and Stefan are the ones doing things with genetic algorithms.
So yeah, I would say that since I'm thinking about implementing stuff in Kotlin, not in Java, it could be quite specific, and it could have some constructs that are quite specific for the language first.
Yeah.
And second, well, I have like this own kind of approach, I'll present it during the group meeting, that fitness function may be based on the behavior. And I mean, I don't know what, Jesse, it would be cool if you would say what are your thoughts, like how do you view the genetic algorithm stuff in your approach? Because, well, it could be different ways, So I see that like two main problems that would prohibit us from creating the shared toolbox for genetic algorithms. The first being the language that we are writing in, and the second being possibly the approach that we are taking to the genetic algorithm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be cool to know, like, how do you see it? And I can also tell you how do I see it. Yeah, sure.
I definitely understand that. I don't have a specific, I guess, I don't have a specific position that I'm taking outside of what you said, so I don't quite know how to contrast it yet. But I think that will be something that comes up more. It's something to definitely be aware of.
Okay.
I mean, the other thing too is that you'll have like common issues, like you'll have to think about like how you want to make a fitness function work. So there'll be like general like concepts that you have to nail down. So that might be a thing too that we might, in terms of shared resources. I mean, I don't know. Like again, like the language part is a little bit tricky because, you know, some things work for some people, some things don't work for others, and it's just a matter of implementation. Ideally, you know, implementation would be easier if you'd share things, but that's not always the case. So, but yeah, I would definitely encourage also to think about like broader concepts and kind of, you know, share between yourselves in terms of that. I mean, that's what we did last summer on the project that we worked on. We kind of shared concepts back and forth about like, you know, how do you approach this problem? How do you define a fitness function for this problem? And we actually came to some pretty interesting results from stemming from that. So, you know, if you discuss it, I think in Slack a little bit, if you have, you know, some stumbling blocks, or maybe, you know, Stefan or Jesse want to share their views on it, you know, and think about like how you would do this, the best way to do this. Because it's, you know, I have to say about genetic algorithms, you know, it's a sort of a, it's very far from, you know, a consensus view as to what makes the best, you know, fitness function, or what makes the best encoding. So, you know, those are things you have to work out. And then that's language independent, but it's something that has to happen as well. So, to be successful. So I will put, like, I don't know if I want to, let's see, we'll put this in, like, in progress, number 4. And I'll put, like, share resources and implementation ideas.
Okay, so finishing, what I can say about the sharing of the genetic algorithm is that, of course, I will also try to do my code as modular as possible, so we can change the fitness function as well as write encoding later, or maybe the concrete and exact approach to the steps like crossover, mutation, and selection. But yeah, basically I will follow the this paradigm that I've also sent in Slack. Let me look it up. I forgot the name. All right, I have to look for the Slack chat first. Yes, so basically I will implement the genetic algorithm, I mean, according to Holland's paradigm, right? So that we have these 3 main steps, crossover, mutation, and then selection. And yeah, I will apply the theory that I've sent in Slack, like this table, you know, with this formula.
Okay.
So that would be an abstract view on genetic algorithms, and of course, as soon as I'm ready with my code, I can just share it with others.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, it's a good idea. And like, I don't know, Jesse, if you'll find it useful, but it'll be there as a resource, you know, to use. Yeah. Okay. So that's that issue that's in progress. And then setting up programming environments. So I know, well, obviously Stefan's been talking about setting up his programming environment and finding the specific details. So Jesse and Ziyi, are you on track for that? Do you have your programming environment set up, or do you need to work on that anymore? Or?
It's not a finished product for me yet. I'm still experimenting with things like that. So it's not quite done yet.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you have any questions, let us know, and
Yeah, I probably have more questions about that this week, for sure. So
Okay. Yeah. Feel free to feel free to use Slack for that. And Z says that he is all set up, all ready to go. So that's that's just something that before you dive into a bunch of stuff, make sure you're familiar with the programming environment. It's just a project management technique, so people can they don't have any headaches down the road, because that can be a pretty big headache. Let me assign this. This one is just Jesse and Stefan. I'm just updating this issue here. Okay. All right. So Z, I want to ask, do you have any issues with? Do you have any things you might need to, in terms of like implementation or in terms of code? Are there things you'd like to share or be a part of a resource pool with anyone else in the group? Okay. Are there any shared resources that you'd be interested in? So you're doing a little bit, you're doing like sort of a project where, there's a certain approach. You're not using genetic algorithms, but you're using other types of, sort of a different type of approach. Is there any sort of code that you think would be useful to Jesse or Stefan in terms of sharing the implementation? Okay, visualizing networks. So that might be useful if you could share some of those techniques in the Slack channel with other people. I don't know what if Stefan and Jesse are interested in going that direction, but that's still useful to share that information with people.
Well, I can comment on that.
Okay.
I think basically I've looked into SimBrain quite a bit, and I think that's just a perfect program for instance, visualizing networks, or for your olfactory approach, yeah, if that's the right word. So the idea is that the Jeffrey, the founder of SimBrain and the creator of it, he built a special kind of world called Order World, where basically the main idea is that you have an agent who is driven by his senses, right? So it could be as well an olfactory sense, of course. So something that he can smell, right? And at the same time, it also provides you a framework to visualize networks, basically, so you can build nodes and connections between them, and give some weights and adjust them. So maybe that would be a thing that will be interesting for you to look into the SimBrain, because your approach, as I've read your proposal, it sounded for me quite as pretty the same as the idea of some of the SimBrain simulations is. So I mean, maybe you can build on the SimBrain simulations. Maybe that will be useful.
Yeah, mean, it's a thought. I mean, so yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the important thing is that we, share ideas, and if we come up with something, that might work better, it's good. If it doesn't work, if it's not something we can share, it's fine. But just I want to facilitate communication, and if we can share things, it would be nice. It's just easier, for other people if there's something that's there already to use. So I guess then I have to ask if anyone has any other issues that they'd like to add to the board. So any issues you see coming up in the next week, or maybe in a couple weeks down the line that you'd like to add to the board?
Oh yes, I may have some thoughts. So basically we are talking, and I've also stated in my proposal that I will give my simulation for the community to evaluate, right?
Like at the end of the session, or in the middle, or what's the?
I would maybe even do it at the end of the first evaluation. It would be ideal.
So you would share, like you would have like a community evaluation of your, like.
Yeah, kind of just show it to people so that they can play around a little bit and say their thoughts about what's, like how they find the tool. Is it good? Does it look good for them? What they maybe need, what they feel that needs to be added to it. Like maybe some functionality that I don't want to have at the moment, at that point. So right, but the problem is I'm not really sure that my report thread in Neurostars will attract enough people from the community. So maybe we could think about, I don't know, some like spreading the word about this, some a little bit more, if it's possible.
Yeah, I think that's good. So you're talking about just anyone who wants to like look at it, like, well, we do have like some, like I have my own connections with like different open groups, like we can put it out on social media, for example. We can like get people from different places to come to. Well, we could set it up in a GitHub repo, and then say this is an open thing, if you want to, contribute or leave comments. But I think in this case, mainly you want commentary. So, I mean, that would be, I think that's a good thing to set up. I'm not really sure how to do it, but, we'll think about that a little bit. And Jesse and Z are welcome to participate in this as well. I don't know, if that's something you're interested in, but I think that's a good idea. We just have to think about how to set it up, like how to get people to sort of comment on it and, make contributions like that. But I think we can do that. About midpoint. So the first evaluation is when? At the end of June or in the middle of June? I can't remember. Yeah, I think it's like, because we're starting now and it's like almost June, so it's got to be towards the end of June. Anyways, we'll figure this out as we go along, but yeah, we'll definitely, I think, some sort of maybe external or even internal evaluation, would be good. Now, in this case, you're not completely finished with the project, so it's more of a code review, isn't it? Or is it like just kind of reviewing modules as you go along?
I would say it's mostly about reviewing interface and model.
Okay.
Right. So, of course, the simulation. I mean, it won't be great thing in the scientific sense, and I'm also not sure that it would be whether it would be useful for so many people in the scientific community, right? But at the same time, I mean, we have plans that presented in neuroinformatics 2019. So it'd be, of course, great if, if people would have a good feeling about this presentation, about the simulation as soon as they see it. And I'm talking about professional neuroscientists here, so maybe it would be cool to ask them at the beginning of the development, or maybe in the middle of the development, what they feel like they are not really okay with in the simulation, what they would like to change, what would make the simulation better looking, stuff like that. So that's what I'm talking about. That will be the main point of this evaluation.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, well, from my experience as an open worm, I don't know. Like, we've done this. I wasn't there from the beginning, but like the idea there is to build like simulations of nervous systems, and you get people, a lot of neuroscientists who are interested in that, even if that's not what they do. But it's like they do, and they do give feedback. It's usually not technical feedback, but it's like they express an interest in one thing or another. So I don't know I don't know how much that would be helpful to like the nuts and bolts development. But I think definitely, maybe soliciting some feedback is good. Just depending on, who participates. There might be some very nuts and bolts type comments, or there might be some very general conceptual comments. So I mean, it could work one way or another. I'm not really sure yet, but I think it's worth trying. Yeah.
yeah.
So, any other issues that people can think about or think that we need to add to the board right now? Well, Jesse said that he couldn't think of anything. So, I mean, if you have any issues that you want to add, please feel free to go in and add them. You're a collaborator on the board. So, if there's something during the week that you think of, you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, you can put it on the board. Z, do you have any ideas about like any issues that we should create? Okay. Well, like I said, if you have any ideas, like, midweek, we can put them on the board. It's just, we usually do this. We'll do this every week, and we'll go through the issues. And then, like, some issues, like I just posted community review for Stefan, like those issues, we'll flush them out over time. So, like, we might divide that into, like, 4 or 5 separate issues, or we might combine issues if we think that's a good way to go. But that'll be our structure from throughout the summer. We'll be, posting issues, and if you can, even if you can just kind of think about before each week's meeting about issues that we might want to address, please bring them or put them up on the board. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. Unless anyone has any other things they want to bring up. Any comments?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I would also like to bring up one thing. It would be really cool if we will decide on how do we do it with a GitHub, whether we work in our own repository so that we kind of fork the main GCOC Braitenberg Vehicles repository, or maybe we can even like do merge requests or pull requests to the main repository, all of us, and that we will have like some sub folders.
Yeah.
Because that's quite important.
Yeah, well, right now I have them forked on the repository, so let's see. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Let me show you what I have in there now. Okay, there we go. So now you can see my screen. Okay, so if I go to the main repo, these are the repositories. So we have some forked repositories. So right now I have Stefan, I have his forked repository. I have Ziyi's forked repository. And I have I'm not sure if I have anything from Jesse as a forked repository, but so that's what I have. And then I have a main repository here, which is the GSOC Braitenberg Vehicles. So, and then in here I have some information. I think maybe it would be good if we had it like maybe in the one GSOC repository, just from what we have. I know you guys already have a repository that's forked. Would that be a problem if we just updated those forks? Or if we put it into the main repository? Maybe I should ask you. I mean, the difference being is that we already have, a couple of repositories of work has been being done, but we could combine it into a main repository, which I think would be useful for like showcasing the project. But it's up to you guys. What do you think we should do about? Do you think we should work with the forks or work in a main repository? I mean, I would prefer the main repository, but I'm letting you kind of vote on it. Okay, well, we'll use the main repo. Okay, so everyone agrees about the main repo using that? Okay, it's good. And if you want to like move everything from like your repo that you have now to the main repo, that's fine with me. Just issue a pull request and I can bring it up to that repo, and then we can work that way. And I think that'll be a little bit cleaner. I didn't really have that worked out like originally, so I wanted to leave it up to you. Okay, that sounds good to me. Okay, well, I guess we can go now. If there's nothing else that anyone has any questions about, we can finish up here. So next week we have the presentations, and we'll meet here next week on the 1st at the same time, and then we'll just present in here. We'll just share your screen and we'll record the presentations from here. And then at the end of the session, we'll have them, I'll put them up on YouTube as presentations. And we'll, hopefully they go well. If you have any questions over the course of the week, let me know. And, okay, well, have a good week. And good luck. See you on Slack. Okay, talk to you guys later. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.